Hey there, yogis. I'm Lorelei of Namasturm Yoga. Today's practice is just going to be a really chill yoga stretch. We're going to do a little bit of yin and just slow it down. So let's start off in Sukhasana, seated pose, for just a few moments, really just to tune in, check in, see how you're feeling, find your breath, and maybe set an intention for this practice. Let's move to tabletop. We're going to come to our hands and knees and take a few cycles of cat-cow stretch. Shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. Inhale, head and tail lifts, chest and belly drops. This is cow pose. And then exhale to cat pose. You can work with your ujjayi breath here, but I'm also going to suggest that it might feel good to hold either of these poses for a few breaths, just to get a little more stretching in the back, allowing things to let go a little more. So if you want to hold cow for a few, and then hold cat for a few breaths. Notice how your spine's feeling. This practice is definitely going to be about slowing down and stretching. I do teach more of the vigorous vinyasa style flow classes, but I think on balance we do want both, a little bit of each. So I do sometimes think it's good to slow down, even if it doesn't seem to be our natural way of working. So give yourself permission to take it easy in this practice, to enjoy some stillness, and to see if you can go a little bit deeper in some of the stretches. With the yin practice, we don't push or pull or force into stretches. We just give our body time and space to do what it will do. So from here, we're going to drop to our first pose that we're just going to hold. We're going to come into a child's pose, so really basic. I'm going to start our little timer. Yin poses are actually held for a length of time, so I do sometimes like to actually track it so that I'm not just trying to count in my head or guess. So coming to child's pose, hips to heels, let your forehead come down, let your hands extend out, and just let go here. Let's come forward to our bellies, and we're going to move to Sphinx pose. So you can set up with your elbows under your shoulders, just your legs extending out behind you, your hips completely on the floor, and your chest up a little bit. So almost just like you're propping yourself up on your arms here. So this is a small back bend. We're not going into a big one where we're like pushing or forcing, but we're just trying to find some ease. If you do want to go into a slightly deeper back bend, we're going to keep the pose relatively passive, but we're going to use our arms a little. So spread your fingers and just root your hands into your mat and start to straighten up your arms. So your arms are working, but really we're trying to let the torso release down. Like just almost like sag between your shoulder blades here to let go. You can also drop your head, so don't feel like you have to keep that head lifted up. This is more of a seal pose, so with our forearms on the ground, we're in Sphinx. If we straighten our arms, it's seal, and if you want to move the hands back a little bit more, you can do that as well. As you're holding these poses, you can stay focused on your breath, working with the Ujjayi if you like. Some people also like to work with a mantra, so see what makes sense to you, but we will sometimes be in poses for multiple minutes, so we want to have something we can concentrate on so we can stay present. And let's move to downward facing dog. Find your hands underneath you. Tuck your toes. Bring your knees up, hips up, heart back. Relax your neck. Since this is our first down dog, if you want to, you can pedal out the feet a little bit. I wouldn't say that down dog is like a strictly yin pose. I think we can practice it in a yin way. So I think if you want to, again, moving through the legs, this is a little less yin, but I think it's a good way to really adjust into the pose. But then eventually coming to stillness so that we're relying on the alignment of the pose, the structure that provides. And then we're just trying to sink into it and let go wherever we don't need the structure and support to hold us in the shape. Now we're going to step the right foot all the way forward. We're coming to dragon pose, but before we do that, let's actually take a moment in just a little bit of a runner's lunge, fingertips on the floor, reach the head forward, stretch out that back leg. So we do get a nice stretch here. Then, when you feel ready to move into the deeper stretch, we're going to lower the back knee down. So we're in a low lunge now. Extend the back foot behind you. And you could stay with fingers on the floor, or I encourage, if it's possible, to walk the right foot just a little bit out to create space inside the right knee for your chest to drop. Maybe hands are down. However, you also might be able to bring forearms down and lower further into the pose. Let your head relax as well. The right knee might drop slightly to the right. It's okay, But we do generally want to keep the knee aligned with the shin and the ankle so that this part of our leg is really safe. We're just letting go with the upper body. So we're getting a stretch in our hip, probably in the back quad. And you might also find a nice rest and relaxation for the chest and shoulders as well. Okay, let's transition back to down dog, and we'll hold there again briefly before we do our other side. Okay, left foot forward. Use your left hand to help you if you have a hard time getting the foot all the way to the top of the mat. And then take a sec with the fingers on the ground and the back knee lifted to just stretch through that back heel. Head keeps reaching forward. And then when you're ready to move into the deeper version, lower the right knee down, extend your right foot behind you, and then bring your hands inside of your left foot. Maybe even walk that left foot slightly to the side to create enough space so your shoulder can move inside your knee. Coming to forearms if you're able, letting go of the weight of your head, relaxing your neck, and just let gravity do the work for you here. Okay, so once again, let's return to downward facing dog. Just to take a little break. Okay, let's take knees to the floor. We're going to come to saddle pose, which is really Virasana, is pretty much the same pose. See if you can separate your feet and sit your hips down between your heels. If you're not able to get your hips flat to the floor, of course, you can sit on a block. You could sit on a folded up blanket. If you needed to, you could sit on your feet with your feet together, but it's not necessarily comfortable, and we are going to be here for a short time, so find your way. If you've got your sit bones flat on the floor, you might walk back and lay on your back here, but that's optional. So listen to your body and determine what stretch it needs here, and then again, just try to let go. This practice is a lot about stillness. We are working with our body, but just in a really different way than when we move and flow from pose to pose. We're letting the pose work on us, really. But it's also an opportunity to get a little quiet inside and see if we can enjoy that sense of peace and ease. Okay, coming out of the pose slowly. So no rush here. And we're just going to transition to a nice easy squat. So moving the feet to the mat one at a time. If a squat is too challenging for you, you could keep your sit bones on the floor and just hug your knees into your chest. But if you're able to bring your hips off the ground and just rest on your feet, heels up or down, either way is fine. Let your arms move inside your knees, press your palms, and just sink into this one. Squatting in this way is actually very natural for our bodies, but we don't have very many opportunities to do it in our everyday life. So sometimes we can get tight in our knees or our hips or our ankles, and it can be challenging to do this pose, but doing so more frequently, I think, can make it a little bit easier and, make it more comfortable. But our bodies are actually pretty well proportioned and aligned to be able to spend a long time in a squat position. And now from here, let's just simply lower the sit bones or hips to the ground. Use your hands as needed. We're going to take the right leg out ahead of us, but keep the sole of the left foot tucked in. So this would be really similar to something like Janu Shirshasana, head to knee pose. But what we're doing now is more, it's like a half butterfly. So we have one knee out and one leg straight. We're going to fold towards the straight leg, but we want to keep it really relaxed. So we're not going to engage the top of the leg. We're not going to flex the foot. And we're actually not going to try to like reach for the foot or strain for anything. We're not going to try to pull ourselves deeper. Let yourself just relax. Give in. When your hands need to support you, right, they're there on the ground so that you're not, just hanging. And if your hands naturally reach for your foot and it's comfortable to hold on, that's fine. But resist the urge to try to make yourself stretch more, and rather just let the stretch happen to you over the time that we're going to hold. Finding your way up out of the stretch. Let's change sides. Left leg out, sole of the right foot in. Release your right knee, angle your body, relax your left leg, and lower yourself down. I sometimes find when I'm doing this sort of practice that my mind gets a little bored, right? So you may have a similar experience. We're none of us perfect, right? We want to imagine that we just go to this beautiful meditative state. That's not always the case, but I think for me, what I try to do is challenge the idea that A, boredom is bad or wrong, and B, that it really is boredom, right? So I think there can be things to be interested in. We sometimes just think they're not interesting. They're not maybe the most, exciting things to notice, but like noticing what the stretch feels like, noticing our breath, like things that we just take for granted, we forget to notice and think they're boring. So sometimes we can actually start to be like, ooh, that's interesting. That's cool, and engage that way. But I would also say that the flip side of so you're bored. Let yourself be bored. There's nothing wrong with that. You're still in the practice. You're still doing the thing with your body. You can tolerate it, experience it for just this bit of time. Just go with it. and come up with as much ease as you can. All right, so we're gonna move to our backs to the floor, and we're gonna come into snail pose, which is the yin way of saying halasana or plow pose. So really what this entails is bringing the feet behind the head. If that one is not like an option for you, you could also just lay on your back with the legs in the air and take this as a restorative posture. If you're able to pick up your hips and get the feet overhead, go for it. So return your spine to the floor slowly. And we're going to move into a happy baby pose. Grabbing the outer feet. Let yourself rock a little from side to side at first if you like. And then see if you can find a bit of stillness. This isn't a long practice today, so we're getting to some of the more calm, quiet ones. Yin practice is a little different than a restorative practice, although yin does have restorative qualities to it, just in its slow pace and its calm nature. But some of the poses can actually be a little challenging, whereas restorative is generally a little bit more feeling good, supporting yourself with props. But the last poses that we're going to do here are actually going to be pretty relaxing. So we're doing happy baby, and then we're going to go into a couple supine twists before just releasing to shavasana. All right, let's bring the knees into the chest and then take a supine twist. Knees drop to the right, head turns away from them to the left. Switch directions. Come out of the twist and move towards Shavasana. Spend as much time as you need in Shavasana, letting go, allowing the weight of your body to just rest into the floor. Close your eyes, relax your breath, and give in to the stillness. Thank you so very much for joining me today for this slow-paced stretch practice. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. Let me know if you have any comments. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I hope you do so. As I mentioned, the style I teach most frequently is Vinyasa flow style. I do have a lot of Vinyasa flow practices with minimal cues, which I've heard a lot of people tend to like. But I do have a fair number of yin practices on my channel as well. So let me know if there's anything that you're interested in, and I hope you'll join me again next time. The light in me recognizes and honors the light in you wherever you are. Namaste. All right, thanks so much. Bye-bye.